The movie opens in the year 1938, with a significant conference taking place in the German city of Munich. This meeting was attended by Adolf Hitler, along with the leaders of Italy, Great Britain, and France. During this conference, Hitler issued a threat to all present: surrender Czechoslovakia to him, or he would instigate a war. Fearing the repercussions of Hitler's threats, these Allied nations coerced Czechoslovakia into submission to Hitler. In this manner, Hitler managed to seize control of Czechoslovakia without a single shot being fired. Exactly 1 year after this event, Hitler launched an attack on Poland, marking the beginning of World War II. In Czechoslovakia, there was significant resistance against the Germans and Hitler. To quell this opposition, Hitler dispatched his commander, Reinhard Heydrich, to the region. Heydrich was known by the locals as the Butcher of Prague, or the Executioner, due to his ruthless actions that resulted in the deaths of thousands. The man in question had a notorious reputation, having been responsible for the deaths of 33,000 individuals in a single day. His actions were so brutal that he earned the nickname the Golden-Haired Butcher. This sets the stage for our story. The main narrative of the film begins with a scene set in the dead of night. Two individuals parachute into the darkness, quickly stowing away their parachutes. They find shelter under a large rock, where they kindle a fire and settle in for the night. However, one of them sustains a severe injury from a tree branch during the parachute descent. They bandage the wound and spend the rest of the night at their makeshift camp. Come morning, a local man discovers them and offers to take them to his home for assistance. Unbeknownst to them, this man is an informant for the Germans. Upon learning of their presence, the Germans apprehend and execute him on the spot. However, a young boy who was at the man's home manages to escape. The two main characters, Joseph and Jan, are introduced at this point. They are Czechoslovakian citizens who have traveled from Great Britain with a specific mission in mind. Their target is Reinhard Heydrich, a ruthless executioner dispatched by Hitler himself. Their mission, aptly named Mission Anthropoid, is to assassinate Reinhard Heydrich. Joseph and Jan arrive in Prague, where Reinhard Heydrich resides. They visit a friend's house, only to find he no longer lives there. Joseph, who is severely injured, and Jan seek help from a woman who directs them to a nearby animal doctor. The doctor treats Joseph and informs them that their companion has been killed by the Germans. The doctor introduces them to others who will collaborate with them. After confirming that these individuals are not German spies, they are taken to a house where a woman, whom they call Aunt, lives with her son and husband. A girl named Marie, who helps the aunt, agrees to work with Joseph against the Germans after he asks her. Marie also mentions a friend who is willing to join their cause. At a New Year's party, Marie introduces her friend Lenka to Joseph and Jan. The plan is for Jan and Joseph to pair up with Marie and Lenka respectively, appearing as couples to avoid suspicion. They never leave the house together, and even if seen in public, they are perceived as ordinary couples. Marie and Lenka are unaware of the specifics of their mission, only knowing that they are part of the resistance against the Germans. Joseph and Jan, along with their companions, begin planning for Mission Anthropoid, but struggle to devise a precise plan for attacking Heydrich. Approaching Heydrich was a daunting task due to his high-ranking position and the constant presence of his guards. To plan an attack, they began to observe Heydrich's daily routine. They noticed that Heydrich occasionally traveled in his open Mercedes without his guards, but most days, an armed vehicle followed his car for protection. They attempted to discern a pattern to predict which days the armed vehicle would be present and which days it wouldn't. However, there was no discernible pattern, making it impossible for them to predict the presence of the armed vehicle behind Heydrich's car. One day, the two women discover the true nature of their mission: to assassinate Reinhard Heydrich. This revelation leaves them in a state of shock. Initially, they are opposed to the idea of killing him, but eventually, they come around and agree to support the mission. The women express their concerns about the mission's high level of danger. They believe that if an attack is launched, survival would be nearly impossible. They anticipated that the full force of the German military would be mobilized against them, leading to their inevitable demise. They also express the belief that Heydrich is not unique. If he were to be killed, another individual just like him would take his place and continue the cycle of violence and death. However, they also acknowledge that a man like Heydrich, who has been responsible for the deaths of millions over the past 2 years and is likely to cause the deaths of millions more in the future, does not deserve to live. This conclusion is reached after a long period of observing Heydrich. At last, Jan, Joseph, and their allies devise a plan. They identify a crossroads where Heydrich's car slows down to make a turn. This is where they plan to assassinate Heydrich using gunfire. As the car is turning, a man will cross the road in front of the car, causing it to slow down even further. At this moment, Joseph will open fire on Heydrich with a machine gun. If there happens to be an armed vehicle following Heydrich's car, it won't have time to retaliate. To ensure this, Jan will throw a grenade under the vehicle and make a quick escape. The plan is set, the weapons are ready, and everything is in place. However, the exact date for executing the plan remains undecided. They are awaiting orders from London. Finally, the orders arrive from London, instructing them to complete the mission under any circumstances. The stage is set for the execution of their daring plan. The following day, John and Joseph's companions gathered for a meeting, during which Uncle Heisky, John's uncle, made an announcement. According to his sources, Heydrich had been summoned to Berlin 2 days ago and was being relocated to Paris. Uncle Heisky emphasized the importance of completing the mission the next day, as it seemed unlikely that Heydrich would return. However, one of the companions, who had opposed the mission from the start, presented a new order received from London the previous day. Joseph had also received an order stating that the mission must be accomplished at any cost. Surprisingly, Ladislav Vanek, one of the companions, received a contradictory message stating that the mission should not be completed and Heydrich should not be killed. This raised suspicions about Vanek's loyalty. Despite his warning that killing Heydrich would result in Hitler annihilating Czechoslovakia, he was disregarded and trust in him diminished. Consequently, it was unanimously decided that the mission would proceed the following day. On the following day, at the predetermined time, everyone departs from the house. As they leave, Joseph bids a final farewell to Lenka. They all reach the designated location where Heydrich is already waiting. At precisely 9:30 a.m., Heydrich's car begins to pass by, and Joseph notices there's no armed vehicle following it. As the car slows down to make a turn, Joseph's accomplice crosses in front of it, causing it to slow down even further. Seizing the opportunity, Joseph steps in front of the car, pulls out his gun, and attempts to fire. However, his gun jams, and he's unable to shoot. Almost immediately, Heydrich begins firing at Joseph. In response, Jan hurls a grenade under the car, causing a massive explosion. Heydrich is injured in the blast, but continues to fire his gun, unfortunately resulting in the death of some bystanders. Despite the chaos, Joseph and Jan manage to escape and head straight to their aunt's house. Heydrich survives the attack, but is injured, and is now receiving treatment in a hospital. In the immediate aftermath of the incident, a curfew is imposed and the time of the accident is announced. A bounty of 10 million crowns is offered to anyone who can provide information about the attackers. If anyone is found aiding the criminals, they and their entire family will be executed. A citywide manhunt for the attackers is underway, with house-to-house searches being conducted. The city is in lockdown, with no one allowed to enter or leave. This makes it extremely difficult for Jan and Joseph to find a place to hide. However, their aunt suggests they take refuge in a church. Their uncle Heisky escorts them to the church and hides them in the cellar. The aunt's son brings them food while they are in hiding. Meanwhile, thousands of innocent citizens are being detained without any evidence. Lenka, in a state of fear, attempts to flee but is shot by the Germans and dies on the spot. After taking refuge in the church, one day their father arrives and informs them about a village named Liedis. The Germans had received information that the attackers were from this village. As a result, every male above the age of 16 in the village has been killed. Women and children have been sent to concentration camps, and every house in the village has been razed to the ground. However, in reality, none of the attackers had any connection with the village of Liedis. Following that, the father provides additional information. He reveals that anyone who has assisted the attackers should step forward and share information about them. If not, in 5 days, 30,000 Czechoslovakians will face death. This news causes great concern among everyone. Jan proposes that he and Joseph should surrender to the Germans and subsequently take their own lives. This act of sacrifice would prevent the Germans from executing innocent people. However, the others, including their father, strongly discourage them from this course of action. They later receive news of Heydrich's death in the hospital. Heydrich was not killed on the day of the incident, but succumbed to his injuries a few days later. The Germans managed to capture one of Jan and Joseph's colleagues. In a short period, they discover that the attackers had been residing in Auntie's house. The Germans promptly arrive at Auntie's residence. They begin to interrogate Auntie, but she remains silent. As a result, she is subjected to severe physical abuse. In a desperate act, Auntie consumes cyanide in the bathroom, ending her own life. Following this, Auntie's son is also brutally tortured by the Germans. Eventually, after enduring to the utmost extent, Auntie's son reveals their hideout in the church. Uncle Heisky makes plans to evacuate them, But before he can reach the church, the Germans arrive. The church serves as a sanctuary for 7 individuals. They usually provide refuge to groups of 3 or 4 at a time. On this occasion, it was John and 2 others who were being sheltered. Joseph and his 3 companions were hidden in the basement, prepared for a confrontation. John and his group braced themselves for the arrival of the Germans. Soon enough, the Germans enter the church. A firefight ensues. Jan and his group, although outnumbered with just 3 members against a larger German force, put up a fight. The Germans are heavily armed with machine guns, grenades, and more, and they launch an assault on the trio. Despite the odds, they manage to inflict casualties on the Germans. However, after several hours of relentless gunfire, one by one, they use their final bullet, the one they had reserved for themselves, to end their own lives. The Germans, upon discovering a map of the church, learn of a hidden cellar. The cellar is forcibly opened with explosives, and the 4 individuals inside begin to retaliate with gunfire. The Germans find it challenging to reach these 4. Water is introduced into the basement from the outside, gradually filling it up. Despite this, Joseph and his companions continue to fire their weapons. They also attempt to dig through the ground. However, they eventually ran out of ammunition. Each of them uses their last bullet, the one they had saved for themselves, to commit suicide. These 7 individuals together managed to hold off hundreds of Germans for 6 hours until they ran out of bullets. In their pursuit of Jan and Josef, the Germans executed 5,000 Czechoslovakians. Heydrich, the highest-ranking Nazi official to be killed, was the target. Only Himmler and Hitler held ranks above him, but they remained unscathed. Heydrich was also the main architect of the final solution. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.